Welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from Budapest here in the heart of Europe. I hope everybody has had a great weekend so far. This is a members chat class. Of course, everybody is welcome to watch, and in about 90 minutes, we will have an all chat class. To become a member of our channel, just click the join button besides the subscribe button. While we wait for some of our members to jump in on this class, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com. For academic IELTS, please check us out there. And for general IELTS, please check us out at gieltshelp.com. On both of these websites, we have lots and lots of help for you to increase your band scores with 6 original practice tests, proven strategies, and over 100 hours of video lessons. And if you join today, you can use the coupon code R4TYJ to get a 20% discount. Again, that code is R4TYJ. I'll show you where you can use those. Hi Abhishek, hi Rajveer. I see you're coming into the class. And for those coupon codes, just go to aehelp.com, click this red Join Now button, and then you will see a use a coupon code button where you can apply that coupon for the 20% discount. For general IELTS, same idea, green background, click that big red button there to join and apply that coupon code. Students, if you have questions about our products or the exam, send me an email, Adrian, A-D-R-I-A-N, at aehelp.com, and I will gladly get back to you. Hi Mahesh, nice to see you in the class. And if you are looking for our exam books in hard copy, you can go on Amazon and search for AE Help's Academic IELTS and GE Help General IELTS. Hi Ruslan, hi Boomi. We'll get into the class or lesson now. I see more and more members are in the chat, which is great. So again, this is a speaking class, so make sure to speak and repeat. Okay, so speak, repeat, focus to copy my intonation, my pronunciation, enunciation. So try to copy me as well as possible. Sometimes when we're copying a native speaker of another language, we feel awkward. That's okay. It's okay to feel awkward when you're copying the accent and the intonation, because accents and intonations are quite different in different languages, so it's okay to feel awkward. All right. So students, members, here we go. You are in your speaking interview. I know many students had some speaking interviews this past week, and we'll have some coming up as well. So you get into your speaking interview with the examiner. You feel confident, comfortable. You express clear answers for part 1, remembering to give explanations and smooth examples. And then the examiner says, all right, that is the end of part 1. Now we will begin with part 2. For part 2, here's a card with some questions. Do not turn that over. Here's some note paper. Here's a pencil. You will have 1 minute to look at the questions on the card, think about your answers. You may take notes in the 1 minute if you wish, and then you will have 2 minutes to speak. I will tell you when to start, when to stop. Are you ready? And then you go, yes, I am. Let's begin. And the examiner will say, okay, turn over the card. Your 1 minute preparation time begins now. You turn over your card, and this is what you see. What do you do? So your 1 minute preparation time. You turn over the card. This is what you see. What is your first step? So 1 minute prep time. It's really important to practice this, to have a good strategy, to have a good system in place so that you're confident and so that you get a good band score. So 1 minute preparation time. You turn over the card. Let's do this as A. And what do you do? So as soon as you see the card, what do you do? Some students panic, some students freak out, some students start staring at the card, some students read the card. What's the best step? Okay, Ruslan says, think about multiple ideas and choose the best one. Ruslan, don't think about answers first. Okay, it's one of the big mistakes that many students make is they start thinking about their answer before they really focus in on the question, and that's a very common mistake. So I'm just going to make a note of that here. It's a very common mistake for candidates to rush into thinking about answers without first paying careful attention to the card. The number one mistake of band 7 and higher students is talking off topic because they did not pay close attention to the card. Okay? Sounds, funny or interesting, and I know a lot of students when they're at home and they're practicing, it works okay, but remember that in the exam situation, usually many students get a little bit more nervous and aren't as focused, so it's easier to go off topic, okay? All right? So don't think about answers, think about the questions, all right? And I can see that Bhumi says, read the topic sentence twice. Roshni agrees, read it 2 times. Read the topic twice, says Rajveer. Yeah, and it's a very, very, very smart maneuver. So step 1 is read the topic statement twice. Be absolutely sure that you are talking about the right idea, using the right tense, and author voice, okay, or speaker voice here. All right, so again, first, second, third person, it really matters, all right? Okay, so let's do that. Here we go. So talk about an idea you had to improve a relationship. Okay, and I'm going to read this again. Talk about an idea you had to improve a relationship. Okay, that's interesting. Does this question ask me to talk about improving a personal relationship? So a relationship that I had with someone or that I have with someone? Or is this card asking me about improving another person's relationship? Maybe my best friend and his girlfriend, or my mom and my dad. So is it a relationship that's related directly to me? Or is it any relationship possibly with other people? What do you think? So Roshni says it's possibly any relationship. So it doesn't necessarily have to be my relationship with someone. Abhishek agrees. Rajveer says it's related to me. I think the correct answer here, Roshni and Abhishek have it. It doesn't say it's a relationship, a personal relationship. That would here it would say improve a personal relationship, but it just says a relationship, so it can be anybody. Okay. It could be somebody that's not related to you, but you helped someone else improve their relationship. It could be a relationship with you. So this card doesn't tell you that, okay? So you could talk about your own personal relationship and improving that with someone, or a relationship that's not directly related, okay? All right, this is why it's important to read it twice, okay? Because that will give you a better idea. So it could be either or here, all right? So you should say who it was with. So it could be with someone you know, or it could be with 2 other people that you know. What was the idea? When and why did you have this idea? Did it improve your relationship? If yes, how? Did it improve your relationship? So now I read this last question, and here it says your relationship. So the last question gives me a little bit more information, and now I have to be more careful because here I can see that it is a personal relationship. So read the first statement twice carefully, but always pay attention to the other questions because they will give you more information. And here it's this very last question that shows you that it should be a personal relationship. Is that clear? So until this point, it could be any relationship. And if you choose the answer quickly and you say, okay, I'm going to talk about how I helped my friend improve his relationship with his sister or with his girlfriend, and you don't pay attention to this last question, you're going to go off topic. Okay? So the whole card is very important. Be very, very careful. All right? Be very, very careful. Okay? So, step 1, read the topic statement twice. Be absolutely sure you're talking about the right idea. Again, do not jump to answers before reading the whole card carefully. Okay. All right, good. So I did that. Now, what do I do next? So I figured out what I need to talk about. What do I do next? Anybody? What's my next step? And these are happening very, very quickly. So reading the card, this first step, you do it carefully, but you shouldn't spend more than about 15 seconds to do this. Okay, so 15 seconds roughly for that A. Yeah, very good, Rajveer. So the second one is identify the category. Okay. So are we talking about a person, a place, an event, an object, an idea? Which one are we talking about here? So look at the card. I mean, that should be pretty quick here. It says talk about an idea you had to improve a relationship. So Elena says here we're talking about an idea. Very good. Absolutely. And when we talk about ideas, what do we need to include? So when we talk about ideas, what should we mention? What are the fundamental basic ideas, or what are the fundamental basic information that we need to cover, that we need to express to the listener to make sense? So what should we include? And it's good. We're not talking about a person, Madhu. We're talking about an idea. Rajveer, very good. So Rajveer says we need to include the time, we need to include the reason for the idea, the requirements of the idea, and we need to include the purpose, which is the same as the reason, right? So time, reason, requirements, results. Yeah, and if you are really stellar and doing a great job, you might even include improvements. Okay, so how you might improve the idea in the future. These are the basic fundamental concepts. So anytime you're confronted with a situation where you're presenting an idea, spoken or written, okay, think about when you had the idea, why you had the idea, what is needed for the idea, how the idea worked, what were the end results, and what can you improve in future situations. Okay, so that's what you need to include. All right, and then roughly in that order. All right, now, what do we do next? So this has to be very fast. If you practice for the IELTS exam and you understand these strategies, this should only take you 3 seconds. Okay, so in a 3-second time frame, you figure out, okay, this is an idea. I need to say when it happened, what I needed, why I had this idea, what were the results, and how I can improve it. All right. Madhu, this is specifically for an idea. Okay, if you're talking about an idea, you should include all of these concepts, okay, to get a high band score. If you're talking about an object, Madhu, or a person, it's different. All right, so Awaz says write notes. Awaz, before you write notes, you have to do what Rajveer is suggesting. Think about 2 or 3 ideas. Boomy, very good. So think of 2 or 3 possible answers. Don't just choose the first one because you might get yourself into trouble. Okay, so think of 2 to 3 possible answers. Choose the one that is easy to talk about. And not the same that most candidates are discussing. Okay, so try to think of an idea that, you know, the 5 people before you in the exam weren't talking about and the next 5 people aren't going to talk about. So for example, in this case, I probably wouldn't talk about an idea to improve the relationship between my wife and I or something like that. That's very common. Okay, so I would try to think about something a little bit more unique because probably a lot of students for this part 2 are going to think about an idea like going for walks with my wife or going for walks with my girlfriend. So that would be a very popular idea. Okay, so give me some ideas. Okay, what are some ideas? Give me a few possible ideas that you had to improve a relationship with someone. Okay. So here you need the idea and what it was to improve the idea. All right. Throwing a party for a birthday, Roshni? Maybe. I'll put it down. Okay. For who, Roshni? So hosting a B-Day party. Okay. Okay, we'll go with that one. Okay, Elena says relationship between a friend. Elena, be specific. And this has to be a relationship with you, right? So, okay, so here you're thinking about the person that you're improving your relationship with and what you're doing. Okay. Ruslan says dad. Okay, improve. That's a good one. So with father, but how? Okay, how are you improving the relationship? So think about the person, think about the idea. What's the idea? Okay, Rajveer says, friends give presents. All right. Roshni says party for brother, hosting B-Day party for brother. Okay. Elena, what's your idea to improve your relationship with your friends? Okay, Madhu says plan a trip to new places with friends. Okay. All right, how about this one? So again, students, oh, there we go. Nice. That Rajveer, you plucked the idea out of my mind. So how about that with coworkers? Team building exercises, that's quite common these days. Anybody who works for a bigger company has probably heard about these. To improve relationships with coworkers, you have team building exercises and adventures. Okay? Okay, so with father, maybe go hiking twice a month. Okay. All right. So again, you don't need 5. You just need 2 to 3, but you want some good ideas. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Let's take votes. According to having a unique, easy conversation that is going to get you a high band score, do you think you would choose number one, B-Day party with your brother to improve a relationship, or planning trips with best friends, or going hiking twice a month with dad, giving presents to friends, or going on team building exercises and adventures with coworkers? What would you choose for this one? And think, think honestly here. Okay, I had these ideas. I'm in the IELTS exam. I turned over this card, and these are the ones I thought about. Which one would you most likely choose and say, okay, this is the one that's going to get me a good score, that's going to get me a high band because I can speak fluently and I have lots of ideas and lots of information. And I can see that 5 appears to be the most popular. So coworkers, team building, exercises, and adventures. Okay, then let's go with that one. So let's go with number 5. It looks like 2 was a pretty popular answer as well. So plan trips with best friends, quite possible as well. Okay, but for now we'll go with number 5. All right. Okay, so good job so far, members. I would honestly most likely go with number 5 as well. So if I were sitting the exam and I had these ideas, I would choose number 5 as the one to use for this cue card. Okay. All right. So you've chosen it. Now what do? What's your next step? So we have a good idea and we're moving on to D here. What do I do for my next step? Okay, and this is happening. This is still all in that 1 minute. This C, you might want to spend as much as 20 seconds on this. Okay, you don't need a lot of time for notes, but you need 15 to 20 seconds to come up with the right idea. You don't need a lot of notes, but you definitely need the right idea. Okay, so you do not need a lot of notes, but you must have a good idea to give yourself the best chance for a high score on the speaking, because part 3 will be connected to this. Okay, so for D, what do? Yeah, take some notes. Okay, good. And usable notes, right? Usable notes. That's right, Abhishek. So write down 5 to 6 useful notes. Okay, give me some useful notes that you think you would write on your paper for improving a relationship with coworkers or improving relationships with coworkers doing team building exercises. So yeah, Rajveer, you do need to be super fast, and that's why part 2 is definitely the part that you want to practice the most when you're getting ready for the exam, because I think a lot of you will do a good job in part 1, but part 2 is where you really have to shine, as it will help you with part 3, right? So you do have to be fast, Rajveer, and it does take practice. Okay, so Rajveer says country club, February. Okay, use short form whenever possible. Good. Okay, Rajveer says 15 colleagues from IT. Sure. Okay, give me some more notes. Roshni says 26th of October 2019. Good. So yeah, have a specific date, right? You want numbers as well. What are the team building exercises? What kind of team building exercises? Give me a few. Okay, Rajveer says cricket and golf. All right. Yeah, good. Roshni says tug-of-war game. Okay. Okay, tug-of-war, for those of you who don't know, it's when you have a rope and you're pulling and you're trying to pull the other team. Okay, so good. All right, Tito says lunch. All right, so group meals. Cooking, maybe. Sure, it's possible. Again, fast notes here, students. Fast notes. Okay. All right. Dancing. Good, Vatsal. So dancing, sure. Trust exercises. Falling backwards. Okay, zip line. These are some common ones. Okay, good. So you have some good ideas there, some sports and so on. All right, what were the results? So what was the goal here? Why did you have this idea? Okay, remember, don't get just stuck on one part of the card or in one idea. Make sure to quickly move through all of the concepts, right? Always keep in mind, students, the essential categories. So time, reason, requirements, results, improvements. Think about all of those, right? Okay. So trust, okay? That should be one that comes to mind easily. Okay. Rajveer says strengthen the relationship. Yeah. Build allegiance. Right? Okay, good. What else? Efficiency, I would say. You're working with colleagues, right? Okay, responsibility. Those are the ones that come to mind. Okay, good. So we're moving along nicely. What do I do next? Okay, I have about 5-6 more seconds. Team spirit, very good, Rajveer. Yeah, I'll throw that one in. So what do I do next? Okay, I have about 5 seconds left. What do I do? And this part here should only take you about maybe 20 seconds on the notes, okay? 15 to 20 seconds. It happens fast, okay? Yeah, that's right, Abhishek. So get ready with the first sentence. Always, always, students. That's the second biggest problem. Get ready with the first opening sentence. Okay. All right. It's definitely the two most common mistakes, students. One, the candidate does not read the card carefully. They talk off topic. Two, their 1 minute preparation time is up. The examiner says, please begin speaking. And the candidate does not say anything connected to the question clearly for the first 20 seconds. Those are the two most common mistakes, okay? So these are the steps to make sure that you don't make these mistakes, okay? So give me your first sentence. Use the notes here. Give me your first sentence. Okay, let's do this together. I can see that the stream is a little bit stuck. Okay, give me your first sentence using the notes. So Vatsal says, relationships matter a lot to live in the world because it's not possible to live without relationships. There are many types of relationships between two people, such as men, women, sellers, and customers. Vatsal, no. I'm not asking you. The card isn't asking you about this. You need to be much more direct. Okay, Rajveer says, a smart idea which I had to strengthen my relationship with my coworkers was to go to the country club for team building. Yeah, I would finish that, Rajveer, for team building. Okay. Bhumi says, the idea which I had about 6 months ago on the 24th of October was to build allegiance with my coworkers at my company by taking them to the country club. Okay, good, Bhumi. So we're on the right track now. Vatsal, please notice the big difference between what you're saying and what Rajveer and Bhumi are saying. Rajveer and Bhumi are answering the card directly right away. So their coherence score is going up, up, and up. Okay. And because of that, they're actually using more complex grammar as well. They're putting direct information on the table. Okay. Tito says, on the 14th of October in 2019, I organized a party at a country club. It was a sunny and bright day. For who, Tito? For my colleagues. Why? To build team spirit, right? So get those ideas out there, okay? Roshni says, well, I had arranged a team building exercise on the 26th of October 2019 for my colleagues. Very good, Roshni. Those are the band 7, 8, 9 first sentences. Okay, very good. Elena says, today I'm going to tell you about a party that I hosted to make better relationships with my coworkers at the country club last month. Elena, a couple of slight corrections, but definitely on the right track. Do you see now, Vatsal, your peers, how they're answering? That's how you want to do it in the future, okay? Those are the high band answers. You don't want to just present a general concept and waste time, okay? It's just 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, so you don't have time to just generalize, okay? So, a fantastic idea I had last October to build team spirit and improve relationships with my coworkers was to engage in team building exercises at a country club. Sure. Okay, so that's your first sentence. A fantastic idea I had last October was to build team spirit and improve relations with my coworkers let me just fix that up. Okay, I should have read my whole sentence. A fantastic idea I had last October to build team spirit and improve relations with my coworkers was to engage in team building exercises at a country club. Okay, good. So good first sentence. Now, I have the time there. What's my next sentence? So let's keep going here. And what you want to do here, students, is you want to think about these critical points. So time, reason, requirements, results, improvements. Think about this first, and then second, think about the actual questions on the card. Who was it with? What was the idea? When and why did you have this idea? Did it improve your relations? If yes, how? So these questions should be secondary, and you'll notice that a lot of times these questions on the card and the fundamental questions related to this kind of category of ideas, time, reason, requirements, are kind of the same, okay? But you want to think about these first, okay? So think about the fundamental points to include for each category first, and second, cross-reference them with the specific points on the card, okay? Chances are that if you include all of this information, you'll cover every point on the card, but you do want to pay close attention to the card to make sure that you don't miss any points on the card. Does that make sense? So first I'm thinking about this because this gives me clear structure. If I think about when it happened, why I had this idea, what I needed for it, the results and how I can improve this idea, that gives me a very clear structure for my speaking. So it's smooth, it's fluent, it's not confusing. And then at the same time, I'm paying, secondly, attention to this kind of information here. Does that make sense? So I combine those two elements to have the best kind of structure and flow for the response. Okay? If that doesn't make sense, send me an email and I can explain it further, but that's definitely the way you want to approach it. So think about that, okay, when you give me the next sentences. So here's our first sentence. A fantastic idea I had last October to build team spirit and improve relations with my coworkers was to engage in team building exercises at a country club. Great. Okay. Ruslan, it's absolutely enough time to make it. Don't spend too much time on each point. Just go through the points. Okay. Believe me, Ruslan, when you practice this, you'll easily make it in 90 seconds. Okay, even if you're not speaking fast. What's important, Ruslan, is that you're not repeating yourself, but you're giving new information with each sentence. Also, Ruslan, make sure you don't get stuck on one point, like talking about just the reason and not talking about the result. Okay, so you have to make sure to go through each point. Okay, then you have enough time, believe me. All right? Okay, so give me the next sentence, members. Give me the next sentence. Okay, so I discussed my idea. I had it in October. Okay, clearly here I would likely mention the reason why I had this idea. So what prompted me? Okay. So Rajveer says, my colleagues felt stressed, and this idea was the need of the hour to unwind and improve their productivity. Good. Okay. So the months prior to having this idea felt very stressful at the office. There were frequent conflicts, and my colleagues had much difficulty clearly and openly communicating with each other. Of course, as a result, many projects were done poorly and often past the deadline. Okay, so this is what comes to mind for me, right? Why would I have an idea to build team spirit with my colleagues or coworkers? Well, probably because we're having problems at the company. Okay, so this led to losses, to profit losses, and problems with management. All right. Let's see. Tito says there were about 12 attendees who joined the function, although I was expecting 16 colleagues, and I had been preparing this party for almost half a month. Probably more than half a day, Tito. But yeah, okay, that might come after. So that would be what you did, right? So the requirements of the idea. Tito, before you get to the requirements, give the reasons why you had the idea. Okay? It's very, very important, the reasons for the idea. Anybody else? So don't just look at mine and think, oh yeah, that's great, that'll work well. Come up with your own idea, okay? There were fights at the office. People were throwing staplers at each other. Okay? Many people didn't come into work. They felt bullied by their coworkers. So whatever comes to mind. Elena says there were 20 members in the team. We had a deadline a few days ago. We had to meet the deadline and we were stressed about it. There was nothing better than to have a party. Okay. This isn't really a party, members. It's team building exercises, right? Roshni says, in this exercise, 15 coworkers were invited, so they had fun and released all their stress. Roshni, you're also jumping ahead. Okay? So you're all jumping a little bit too far forward. You're missing out the setting. Students, remember this. Okay? So any good book or any good story requires a hook, okay, to make it interesting. It requires a background. You're going to notice something interesting here. It's kind of like task 2, right? Also called the setting. So location and characters. It requires a challenge or a conflict. It requires a resolution and closing. Okay, so I'm giving you kind of another way to think about it. With part 2, you're basically telling a short story to your listener. Okay, and just like a 2-hour movie, even a 2-minute story has to have the same elements as a 2-hour movie. So it needs to start with a point that makes it interesting. We have that. That's our first sentence. So an idea that I had to improve the relationships with me and my coworkers was team building exercises at a country club last October. So that's my hook. Ooh, interesting, exciting. You had an idea to make relationships better with coworkers, team building. What happens next? Okay, well, next, we need the background and the setting, right? And we need the challenge and the conflict. So where did it happen? And then the challenge and the conflict is the reason, okay? So the colleagues were fighting with each other. Projects weren't done. The company lost over $1 million in the last quarter, right? So that's what creates the context for the later steps. Does that make sense? So it's really important to include that. All right. I felt like I needed to give you another way to think about this because it feels like you're kind of missing that concept. Okay. Okay, Boomy says, since I was new in the company, I couldn't cope with the responsibility and poor communication with colleagues, which in turn made it impossible to meet deadlines, and everybody was stressed. Right, Boomy? That's the right approach. Okay, so Boomy, that's the right idea. Abhishek says, this idea came to mind because coworkers were fighting due to late night shifts on a regular basis. Projects were incomplete and deadlines failed. Everyone was stressed. Very good. Yeah. Elena says, it seems really tough. Elena, it is. If it weren't tough, everybody would get band 9 on the IELTS, but band 9s are rare, and even band 7s are difficult. It is tough to get a high band score, but you can do it, Elena, as long as you practice the right strategies. Okay? All right. So I'm happy that makes sense. Let's keep going. Let's just review what we have so far and then give me more sentences, okay? And again, this is speaking, students, so speak with me. A fantastic idea I had last October to build team spirit and improve relations with my coworkers was to engage in team building exercises at a country club. The month prior to having this idea felt very stressful at the office. There were frequent conflicts and my colleagues had much difficulty clearly and openly communicating with each other. Of course, as a result, many projects were done poorly and often past deadline. This led to profit losses and problems with management. Okay, so now give me more sentences. I'm going to type a little bit here so we move along, and of course I'm going to look at what you're giving me as well. For this idea to work, I put together a nice email and sent it around the office. The email outlined that we would take 2 days off work, which would be spent doing fun and exciting team building exercises like tug of war, scavenger hunt, cooking competition, and even cricket and golf at a 5-star country club. 20 of my colleagues signed up for this, nearly the entire office. We went to the club from Friday to Sunday and spent an amazing 3 days together. Management had no problem to provide the $5,000 cost of this excursion. Okay, so notice how I'm moving along quite smoothly here, simply because I'm thinking about the points required to clearly explain this idea. So now I'm on to my requirements. Okay, so what my project needed. Of course, it needed people, it needed location, it needed some money. So I'm thinking about these ideas and I'm putting them together into sentences. Now, I do this quite fluently because this is what I teach. I have a lot of practice doing this, but you can do it as well. Okay, it's often not the language that's the barrier. So it's not the English and the grammar, but it's the flow of ideas and flow of information in the mind. And a lot of students tell me that. A lot of students say, Adrian, I'm pretty good in English, but I have difficulty coming up with the ideas. So you have to practice this structure. And at this point, this is where I would stop for a second and I would take a look at the card. The reason why, because when I'm practicing for IELTS at home, I have a pretty good idea of the sequence of elements that I need to include when speaking of ideas. But the card might be a little bit unique, right? So I'm looking at the card, who it was with, what was the idea. Okay, I'm covering these questions. So I'm thinking check, check. When and why did I have this idea? Check, I'm talking about it. Did it improve your relationships? If yes, how? So this would be my next point anyway, the results, and it lines up with the card, so I'm on the right track. Okay, all right. So Ruslan says, Ruslan's asking a good question. Ruslan's asking, shall we imagine an unreal or artificial situation, or should we discuss something that really happened? Ruslan, if you can think of a real situation quickly that you find useful, use it. However, this is often difficult for students. So more often than not, in more situations, students do have to come up with an unreal imagined answer. And so this is why it's important to practice part 2, because oftentimes you have to improvise. You have to create the story and make it up as you go along, okay? Here's the good news, Ruslan. When you practice making up stories and you know the structure and you do this regularly, it actually becomes easier to make up a story and talk about it quickly than to try to recall from memory an event that actually happened, find the right vocabulary, and piece it together, Does that make sense, students? That was a really good question by Ruslan. Should I choose a real event or should I make one up? If you practice, making it up can be often easier than being nostalgic and recalling a real event. Okay? So making it up, if you practice, can be easier. All right? But you have to practice. You have to practice this sequence. All right? I've noticed that when students try to recall real events, they often get stuck and they often start to repeat the same ideas because they remember a part of the event but not all of the event. Okay? So careful with that. If you get lucky and you had an idea to improve a relationship just last week, sure, use it, but that's usually not the case. Right? That's usually not the case. Okay, so the event was quite successful as most colleagues gained a great deal of trust with me and each other. They also learned more effective means of communicating and taking responsibility. This improvement was definitely felt at the office in the ensuing weeks as we not only beat deadlines but also improved our income by 15% over the next quarter. I personally felt much more positive and less stressed when collaborating at the office. Okay, so I'm moving along nicely. Again, I have a clear idea. I'm talking about results, and I'm reflecting on my notes. Okay, so this is what I'm using here. If I get lost, I take a look at my notes. All right. Okay, students, let's go through this one more time. It's speaking, so speak and read and think about the flow, think about the content, okay? Here we go. A fantastic idea I had last October to build team spirit and improve relations with my coworkers was to engage in team building exercises at a country club. The month prior to having this idea felt really stressful at the office. There were frequent conflicts and my colleagues had much difficulty clearly and openly communicating with each other. Of course, as a result, many projects were done poorly and often past deadline. This led to profit losses and problems with management. For this idea to work, I put together a nice email and sent it around in the office. The email outlined that we would take 2 days off work, which would be spent doing fun and exciting team building exercises like tug-of-war, scavenger hunts, cooking competitions, and even cricket and golf at a 5-star country club. 20 of my colleagues signed up for this. Nearly the entire office. We went to the country club from Friday to Sunday and spent an amazing 3 days together. Management had no problem to provide the $5,000 cost of this excursion. The event was quite successful and most colleagues gained a great deal of trust with me and each other. They also learned more effective means of communicating and taking responsibility. This improvement was definitely felt at the office in the ensuing weeks as we not only beat deadlines, but also improved our income by 15% over the next quarter. I personally felt much more positive and less stressed when collaborating with my colleagues at the office. All right, so here I would check the card, make sure I answered all the questions. If not, I would elaborate. Okay, I can go back, discuss more about more activities and how those activities helped to improve. But this is roughly what you need to get that Band 8, Band 9. Students, Abhishek, Bhumi, Rajveer, I can definitely tell that you have the right concept. So just make sure to practice. Ruslan, I think you got the right idea as well now. Elena, I know it's challenging, but believe me that with practice, you can get there, okay? And it will not just help you with the IELTS exam, but it will help you in other parts of your life as well. Tito, good input, good job. All right, keep it up. Keep pushing forward, students. Okay, keep pushing forward. Vitsal, make sure to have a very detailed and specific first sentence right away when your 2 minutes starts. Okay, that's my advice, students. Fantastic job. Coming up in 30 minutes, we are going to do part 3, which will be connected to this topic. Everybody can chat, so all of our wonderful viewers who are here with us right now, in 30 minutes, you can join the chat, and we will do part 3, which is connected to this part 2. So make sure to join. Hopefully, I'll see you soon. Bye for now.